everyone, my name is Gabriel Hood and welcome to a public service announcement. If you enjoyed my review on Coach Carter and my triple presentation regarding the Trinity of basketball movies that I enjoy, thank you. Now the next focus of review will be on The Negotiator, an action thriller released in 1998 by Warner Brothers Pictures and starring Samuel L. Jackson and Kevin Spacey. The film revolves around a conflict between two police negotiators. One who has turned hostage taker in a desperate attempt to clear his name after being framed for murder and embezzlement, and the other demanding surrender. Will the negotiators come to a truce in a race against time to expose a conspiracy before it's too late? So let's begin, shall we? For our main protagonist, Danny Roman, life is good. He has a reputation of being the best hostage negotiator for the Chicago Police Department, which is evidenced by him risking his life in the introductory sequence to subdue and disarm a suspect who held his own daughter at gunpoint. And he and his long-term girlfriend, Karen, have recently gotten married. And in a perfect world, that would be all you need to know about him. But Roman's dream life is about to become a nightmare as his friend and partner Nate Roenick comes to him with information about large amounts of money being stolen from a disability fund, for which Roman is a board member. And one night, while Roman is having an intimate moment with his wife Karen, who makes him promise to come home for dinner every night, Nate summons him to speak further about the embezzlement scheme. But before further conversation can continue, Nate is murdered. And since Roman was the first to arrive at the scene of the crime, he's considered a prime suspect. And to make matters worse, after Nate's funeral, Internal Affairs investigator Niebaum conducts a search in Roman's residence and comes up with documents of offshore bank accounts equal to some of the amounts of money being stolen from the disability fund. But Roman knows he's being set up to take the fall. And in the face of humiliation, his supervisor, Chief Al Travis, relieves him of duty. And if you could do a survey of just how many people believe in his innocence, survey says, and to add insult to injury, not only is he relieved of duty, but he comes under very public scrutiny, and he's looking at some serious prison time. Oh hell no! Even his lawyer, who he hires to defend him in the court of law, if he is to be convicted or prosecuted, recommends he cuts a plea deal for a lesser penalty if he is to be convicted in a court of law, which seems almost inevitable. So with no other options, Roman takes matters to his own hands and confronts Niebaum directly about the embezzlement scheme. And when Niebaum refuses to answer his questions, Roman has no choice but to fight back when when Niebaum's associates try to forcibly remove him, and Roman takes Niebaum, his secretary Maggie, two-bit hustler Rudy, and his friend and scene commander in the negotiations, Grant Frost, as hostages. And he knows that apart from that, he had no other choice since his professional career and personal life were in jeopardy.
I didn't do this stuff. This is not me. I'm fighting for my life.
After trying everything the right way and failing. So with the building being evacuated and placed under siege by Roman's own department and the FBI, because it's also a federal building, the general public tunes in to the situation, and the department has to find an equally skilled negotiator And Roman demands that they summon Chris Sabian, who is just as skilled as Roman is, only he communicates with hostage takers as long as possible, and does not consider tactical force necessary unless there's no other alternative. And with Chris Sabian stationed on the West Precinct of the department, that eliminates him as a suspect in Nate's murder in the embezzlement scheme. So when Sabian arrives, Roman tells him that he's only doing this to prove his innocence because there was no other way for him to do it. And in the face-to-face conversation, Roman tells him this, which is suddenly interrupted when Scene Commander Adam Beck, who has been antagonistic toward Roman since from the start of the movie, calls for a breach that fails miserably, where Roman takes 2 additional officers hostage.
You're an idiot!
And Roman gleefully brags about their failure to kill him.
It didn't work, man. I'm still alive, motherfucker.
So after a while, Roman and Sabian reopen negotiations, and Roman gets into Kneebone's files and discovers wiretaps, proving that Nate was conducting an investigation into the embezzlement scheme, which exposes Kneebone's deception.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God, stop your fucking lying.
He even calls Sabian's bluff when he claims to have found the informant regarding the scheme, while Roman discovers that Nate himself was the informant, which causes them to piece together that in their last conversation, Nate was describing himself but didn't want Roman to know. And Roman, having grown tired of Kneebone's deception, finally gets a confession out of Kneebone that Nate had provided Kneebone with wiretaps of the guilty officers who happened to be in their squad, and their names were Helmet, Allen, and Argento. And Kneebone took a bribe from them to cover up their crimes. Nate refused to do the same, which resulted in his murder. And those same 3 corrupt officers gained access under the pretext of breaching if Roman started killing hostages. But upon hearing Kneebone's confession, they ambushed the Internal Affairs Office, and Roman fights them off, exchanging gunfire using flashbangs he confiscated from the 2 other officers he's held hostage.
Walk that trick! Walk that trick!
But that wasn't enough to prevent the 3 corrupt officers from killing Kneebone.
I'm supposed to feel sorry for that bitch. I don't.
But honestly, he had it coming. Withholding information that would clear Roman's name and prevent him from being convicted in the court of law. So he had it coming. Plus, even the audience knows that he was nothing but trouble.
'Cause I knew you were trouble when you walked in.
And despite the fact that Sabian wanted the situation to end peacefully, it's become clear to him that it's going to end violently. And the FBI relieved Sabian of his command in order for a breach, which Sabian unsuccessfully argues against, as he knows that going through with the full breach would ensure that not just Roman, but potentially the hostages could die. So Sabian at this point takes matters to his own hands and provides Roman a way out as he's become convinced of Roman's innocence. So Roman disguises himself as a SWAT member and makes his escape through air vent, while his own department and the FBI rescue the hostages. After which Roman and Sabian make a truce to band together to find evidence that would clear his name and send the corrupt officers to prison. But when things don't necessarily go as planned, the corrupt officers arrive and threaten to kill Roman. And then Frost shows up, orders him to stand down, and at this point, both Roman and Sabian realize that Frost was in fact the ringleader of the embezzlement scheme and set Roman up for Nate's murder and the embezzlement scheme.
You disloyal, fool-ass, bitch-made punk.
So Sabian, with no other choice, shoots Roman in a way that makes it look like he's killed him to get a confession from Frost about his involvement in the embezzlement scheme, the murder of Nate. So Sabian successfully gets a confession out of him. And as Frost walks out of Kneebum's house, he is in the face of humiliation that he just incriminated himself along with the other corrupt cops. And as Beck reads him his Miranda rights, Frost tries to commit suicide only for Beck to shoot him and personally arrest him, therefore exonerating Roman. As he's carried to an ambulance and go to a hospital where he reunites with his wife and reclaims his badge. So my conclusion is The Negotiator is a very entertaining action thriller. The action sequences are sophisticated. There are genuinely suspenseful moments because the main character is in a race against time to clear his name before he's killed or arrested. There are some very emotional moments that do impact the story and a healthy amount of comic relief courtesy of Paul Giamatti. And it's very incredible the way Samuel L. Jackson and Kevin Spacey faced off against each other for much of the movie until they come together to expose the corrupt cops. Like, their dialogue and conversations, it's like watching a stage play, but for film instead of, theatrics. The plot is very engaging, how a police officer out of desperation commits a crime to prove he didn't commit the crimes he was accused of, or wrongfully accused, of course. And it exposes how the so-called brotherhood, especially in positions of authority like law enforcement, heck, even politics in real life is very shallow. As 1 minute you're an asset, and the next minute you're a target. Especially when you expose corruption within your field. Like, you can end up both ways in only two ways. The main character's partner being murdered and the main character himself being set up to take the fall. So it really goes to show. So as much as people like to stereotype that women can't lead and how women hate each other, this movie goes to show that the camaraderie between men is also very shallow. Heck, even more. because they make a code and break it at the same time and only enforce it when it benefits them. So the filmmakers were onto something when they exposed how so-called brotherhood is very shallow. Now, on the downside, it's shameful that the movie wasn't the blockbuster success that it could have been. And the themes of police corruption are still very relevant today. And it plants a seed of distrust in the general public because law enforcement officers, for the most part, we're supposed to see them as heroes. But when they violate our trust, it leaves us distrusting of authority. But all in all, this was a great movie. I recommend it. See you later. Peace.